There we go. Hello and welcome to the MovieBoozer.com Pubcast. I'm your host, Ken Eckman, and joining us today is Bill Arsenault,
Hey.
Jake Turner,
How's it going?
Bill Leon.
Hey there. Ken, real quick, before we get to the proceedings, should we briefly go over the SNL 40 disaster that happened?
Disaster?
I will be glad to talk about that, but I need to get the beer out of the way first.
And Hawk, is Hawk joining us tonight?
Hawk
he may
is...
be, jo-
he
he may be
said
joining
he
us
will
in
be.
just a few minutes.
Yep,
Okay.
he's just a little late.
So the beer that I have to talk about is called Bottom Up Wit, which is from Revolution Brewing Company in Chicago on 3340 North Kedzie. Is there a description of the beer anywhere here?
I don't know. Is there a phone number? Maybe an email address?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah. Do you actually want?
All right.
Do you actually want the phone number? Because I can
No,
give it.
I don't. I was just asking you to. I was making a joke about you elaborating even further on it.
Oh. There's 4 stars on the beer, so I guess this is a 4-star beer? Perhaps? Let's find out.
You're really into canned beer now because of that Stein.
It's a cool sign, by the way.
Well, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Yeah, the Stein is awesome, but you were all about the bottles before.
I was all about the bottles before, but it's simple. I have an excuse to put something in here because bottles won't fit. So until I run out of microbrew.
That was not me, I swear.
All right, Jake, I saw you added Google Effects, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you to please stop.
Anyhow, I was just trying to get into the moment with the beer.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. We'll have a lot of Google effecting on Sunday's Oscar podcast.
Oh, that should be interesting.
Probably near the end with everyone getting drunk.
We might as well plug it now. This Sunday, during the Academy Awards, we'll be doing our 3rd annual live stream of the Oscars. And we might want to nix Google Effects for that because we're going to have a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah, like that just might add to the insanity to a level that we don't want. So probably no Google Effects. We're going to have at least Clint from Alka Hollywood is going to join us. There are other people that do that podcast with him. I don't know if they're going to come too. I didn't. I've only spoken to him about it, but we will have someone from Alka Hollywood coming and joining us for that. Zach will be in the States live in person with Ken. Kingsley, I'm sorry, Felix Felicis might show up.
Oh,
So
man.
we're gonna have a lot of people.
Bill,
Looking forward to it.
you're really terrible at that, aren't you?
First of all, okay, I haven't.
I don't mean to call you out on the air.
This is a whole different person. This is a completely separate person this time.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so needless to say, back to
the beer?
back to the beer. You know what the beer tastes like to me?
Swill?
No, not Swill. It tastes like a Miller Genuine Draft. So, I mean, is Miller Genuine Draft good? It drinks. So there you go.
Well, you could say that about any liquid.
It's
Right.
fine.
Yeah. Ron Rico.
Ron Rico, it drank. Print that on the bottle, please.
Ronco.
Oh God. Well, so with that said, yes, let's go ahead and briefly touch on the Saturday Night Live.
I'd like to. I didn't watch it.
I did.
What? You
Yeah,
didn't? Why do you want to talk
it.
about?
I did. I loved it.
Why are you calling it a debacle if you didn't watch
Yeah.
it?
It was watched by 23
that's what-
million
You know, I was just quoting popular opinion.
Really? I thought
Yeah.
popular opinion was that it was
Although,
okay.
but here's the deal, though. Let me take you back a few months. When Prince dropped his albums a few months ago, I don't remember how long ago it was, but he played on Saturday Night Live, and I watched the episode for his musical performance, and the sketches were terrible. Like, just top to bottom, fucking nothing about it was funny.
That's because it was in the 85-86 season when they had some of the worst people on there. That was like their worst year. I mean, that was probably when he was promoting that terrible Under the Cherry Moon that he
Oh, no, I'm talking about
directed.
recently, like a few
Recently?
months ago. Yeah, Prince was on SNL a few months
Today's
ago.
Saturday Night Live, though. No. Today's Saturday Night Live is terrible. I can't watch any of it anymore. Ever since Jason Sudeikis left, it's lost its way. It doesn't know what it's doing. It looks like a C version of Mad TV right now, and that's not really saying much.
Well, I am going to go ahead and I will give Saturday Night Live credit where credit's due. The fact is, it is fucking impossible to be consistent when the whole business model of Saturday Night Live is we write all the sketches in a week and we rehearse them and perform them on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I mean, I admire when they actually have a successful sketch because those conditions are just horrific and not really built for comedy. Honestly, it's admirable that they're able to pump out that.
Well,
it's amazing that there's any good material on SNL, and
There
in fact,
isn't any more. Period, though.
I would argue with both of you.
Watch the 40th anniversary. You'll see how great it truly was. Like when you saw Celebrity Jeopardy make an appearance, and that's what I really liked about this anniversary is that we had a couple of sketches with some of our favorite stars in the past that actually took time out of their busy lives to do a week of practice to do this right off the bat, and they did it at epic Celebrity Jeopardy. They did a great job on Wayne's World, and then they were actually able to come in with a couple of good things here and there. But there was some bad things as well.
Here's what I did.
I'd like to forget about forever.
This isn't a sketch, but the one thing I did manage to see from this was Chris Rock introduces Eddie Murphy for 4 minutes, and then he comes out and does nothing.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy came out half-heartedly and said, what do you guys think here, huh? How about that? You guys want some more show? You want some more show? And then he sits there for a minute, smiles, and goes, okay, so you want me to do it again?
There were a lot of... I don't know if you noticed,
that
but
was, I mean...
It was embarrassing.
There were a lot of appearances by celebrities where the celebrity literally just came out and said some line awkwardly.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro also was like that, where it's like, and now Robert De Niro. Hi, I'm Robert De Niro, and I remember Saturday Night Live being funny at some point.
Okay, well...
The monologue was terrific. That one with Steve Martin and Tom Hanks and Paul McCartney and Paul Simon.
Some shit I just want to say, though, about Saturday Night Live in the past, 5-6 years of its run. They have launched a lot of talented people like Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader.
Yes.
I could go on and on and on about the people that have come out of Saturday Night Live in the past 5 or 6 years.
Oh, yeah.
I've never really thought those people were particularly funny on Saturday Night Live. But
I don't blame that on the people. I think that it's...
Well, yeah, no.
I think that the system...
not sharp anymore, and it just looks like they just don't care anymore.
I think the best thing to come out of that show in a long time was The Lonely Island, and you could argue that didn't even technically come out of that show. That was just sort of their launching pad for that project.
Yeah, that was great.
But The Lonely Island is great. Yeah, like they're even talking about doing a Lonely Island movie, which I don't know if that's gonna work, but like that is the one memorable thing that they've launched out of Saturday Night Live for me.
Well, I always look at it like this. I always say that the 70s are my favorite because we had Bill Murray, Jane Curtin, Lorraine Newman, Garrett Morris, Dan Aykroyd, and even Aykroyd came out and did a Bass-O-Matic. And even though, yes, he's on age right now, but it was just really cool to see the Bass-O-Matic again. And some of the sketches were good, and as I mentioned, with Steve Martin, if it's Steve Martin, Alec Baldwin, or Tom Hanks, if they come out and they do just a couple of minutes of something, it's epic. It's funny. I was falling off my seat a few times when they were on there. But then, yes, there were some pretty bad moments as well, including Kanye West. Please stop.
I was definitely enjoying the nostalgia moments during the show, and I will say that all of the all the times where you had old performers come on stage and do their thing it was really entertaining. And also, as far as the musical guests, Paul McCartney I think was fine. I mean, his usual Paul McCartney-ness. I liked Paul Simon coming out and doing his performance, and I hesitate to say this because my dad and I were fucking floored by the fact that I actually got to see Miley Cyrus give a performance that was not insultingly bad.
What did she do?
It was just mediocre.
Here's the thing. She did the Paul Simon song, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. And
what?
Yeah.
That just sounds like a bad idea.
Hold on. I'm going to be completely, devastatingly honest here. Never in my life have I seen a single thing of Miley Cyrus that interested me. This performance on Saturday Night Live was competent. I'm not saying it was great. I'm not saying it was transcendent, but her voice was on key. The song was a unique choice of song. The only reason I'm sure she picked it is because Paul Simon was on, so they probably could get cheap licensing.
She did a Led Zeppelin cover not too long ago, and you could say the same thing about it. Yeah, like it's competent, I guess, as a performance, as a recording, but there's nothing.
Production-wise, they didn't throw in a bunch of bullshit auto-tune. They used a very sparse production. I hazard to say that I actually appreciated the performance of the song, and that is more credit than I think I've ever given a pop star in probably the last 20 years. So,
really, wait, time out, because this has to be addressed. Have you never seen Lady Gaga play piano?
If you ever watched Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett together, that is fantastic.
I think that's a little weird, but yeah, I kind of like Lady Gaga. She knows how to play instruments. She went to music schools, and despite the fact that I also kind of have a theory that she's trying to destroy her own self, her persona, there was a time in her career where she showed a lot of promise, but there you can find videos and stuff of her just like playing piano and singing, and she's very good.
Well, the fact is, many of these pop stars, no matter how vapid, had a point in time in which you can point out and find some element of talent within them. Even Justin Bieber can drum. He's a talented drummer.
Competent drummer.
With that said, that's all I have to say on the point of the music performances. Okay. I will say that the biggest problem I had of the night were those moments where they directly addressed, like, oh, it's been 40 years, and it's been great this whole 40 years, or how about the most uncomfortable moment of the night, which was when they showed excerpts of auditions from a bunch of SNL stars, and
I like that, actually.
And some people who didn't get on SNL.
Did they show Paul Rubin's audition?
Yeah, like Stephen Colbert was there, Zach Galifianakis was there as well. Yeah, I understand. I thought the screen tests were great because these are guys who have come back and they have hosted the show before, so it doesn't really matter to that. I mean, they've been successful all on their own, so they didn't need Saturday Night Live to be successful. That was what I thought was so unique about it.
Well, I mean, you could argue at the time they needed it, which is why they auditioned. But you know, I will take Strangers with Candy over anything SNL was doing at the time.
The final thing I will say about the SNL show, my biggest criticism in general, were all of those supercuts they had where they showed, you know, the SNL through the ages. They didn't linger on any particular sketches for any amount of time, so it relied on your knowledge of what that sketch was in order to find what you were seeing funny. And let me be honest. I know fuck all about the last 15 or so years of SNL because I stopped caring somewhere midway through Will Ferrell's tenure, and
That's like my era. That's the era I grew up watching, and
Right.
there's still like you mentioned Celebrity Jeopardy. I haven't seen the new one they did. I'll watch it, and I'm sure it's funny. The old Celebrity Jeopardy sketches were great. I loved it when him and Anna Gasteyer would do those music teachers that would do the covers.
They did it.
Oh, really? Then I
good.
love that stuff. That stuff fucking to this day, me and my brother will like quote that shit to each other.
I'll say this for SNL real quick. Everybody was so excited over Eddie Murphy coming back after 40 years, but you know who sold the show the most? Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler was game to do anything. He was.
That's good. That's exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, and then he did Andy Samberg, and they did such an epic
he did Andy
on
Samberg?
a Tina Turner song.
Live on the air?
I thought it was great. I was shocked that Adam Sandler did it so well.
Can you imagine that? Like Adam Sandler and him like just going at it.
I mean, he kind of already fucked him with "That's My Boy." Rim
They
shot,
even ripped on
no
that.
Google effects.
They even ripped on that. They even said that in the song, and he goes, "Why do you want to talk about that?" Just as a joke, because Andy Samberg and Adam Sandler started that together. So.
Andy Samberg's embarrassed by "That's My Boy."
So was Sandler. Everybody was embarrassed.
But then why did he produce it?
Not Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice was proud.
Vanilla Ice got arrested today.
Today?
Yeah, he got arrested for home burglary.
Breaking news. Let's hear for burglary.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Home burglary. It was in Florida, I believe it was.
Home invasion? Really?
Yeah, like breaking and
home
entering.
Burglary.
Burglary.
Was he with Juggalos when he did it?
No, I don't think so.
That's a valid question, sir.
Yeah.
All right, it says here, rap star Vanilla Ice is arrested, charged with burglary. CNN.com. Here's the article. I'll go ahead and just read a couple quick excerpts. It says here, Vanilla Ice was put on ice Wednesday, thanks to an arrest in Latana, Florida. First of all, CNN, fuck you.
No, that's really good. How can you not use that?
Put on ice.
Well, it's CNN now, ran by Jeff Zucker, who threw NBC into the ground.
They could have just as effectively used YouTube clips of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Batman and Robin.
You can. Here's the thing. You can really tell that
better
you can tell whoever wrote this article really hates Vanilla Ice, because that's the first sentence. The second sentence makes sure to point out what his real name is. The rap artist, whose real name is Robert Van Winkle, was taken into custody Wednesday and charged with burglary, residence, and grand theft, according to a news release issued by the Latana Police Department.
I didn't know that his real name was Robert Van Winkle.
Really? I don't know why I know that. I just do. I used to watch VH1 like religiously, so that's probably why I know.
Not Robert Matthew Van Winkle, actually.
Robert Van Winkle sounds like somebody that would star in like a Bible movie.
I guess
Tribulation, starring Robert Van Winkle.
It says here
that Robert Van Winkle is Jesus.
It says here that Vanilla Ice is renovating. Apparently, he's renovating the property adjacent to the property in which items were stolen.
The Sunday afternoon movie on the Bible Network is brought to you by the Bible.
The Hallmark Channel.
The Hallmark Channel.
Well, that makes sense, because isn't he working as a carpenter right now?
Yes, and in fact, he's on a friggin' reality show, The Vanilla Ice Project.
So
Wait.
So there is a possibility that this entire incident may have been staged specifically for the purposes of a reality show.
That reality show is kind of old, though, like years old.
It's still on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised to hear that, and it must be at least like 3 or 4 seasons in at this point. So, like, publicity? Nah, I don't. There's no way.
Can you imagine that, like, on a reality show editing, they've got like sneaky music as he's like jumping over the fence and just following him into the.
That's the thing. The ratings on the show are probably lagging because no one gives a shit about the novelty of watching Vanilla Ice renovate homes anymore. So they're like, Hey, Vanilla, why don't you go over to that house next door and rob it?
Okay.
To which, I mean, Vanilla Ice is no stranger to theft. I mean,
They
obviously.
were like, well, no.
you know,
Okay, so who saw 50 Shades of Grey?
Yeah, I did.
You did, and I know Jake did. Bill Arsenault, did you see 50 Shades of Grey?
Yeah, I raised my hand. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I want you to start, please.
Well, why should I start?
Well,
Before
I
Bill
guess-
starts, though, I want to say that Hawk and Felix's movie review of 50 Shades of Grey was hilarious. I couldn't believe how awesomely written it was. So
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
just want to point that out real quick. Everybody needs to go and click on that and enjoy it. It was really funny.
we had a lot of fun with that one.
you can
Yeah,
find that on
I can see
movieboozer.com. But just to kick things off, in case somebody watching this has been living under a rock, 50 Shades of Grey is the adaptation of a very popular novel, I guess you would call it. New York Times bestseller. Number one.
A collection of words strewn together incoherently.
Somebody's live journal with
On
a
a Kindle.
plot.
You think I'm lying on this, but did anybody see the box office receipts? 90 million 50 Shades of Grey made in 4 days, and then 235 million in 3 days.
It's a very successful opening weekend. One of the biggest
Very
opening
successful,
weekends.
absolutely.
the movie has made $270 million.
And the ultimate irony,
Worldwide.
is that nobody seems to like it. Like even the people that
Well,
the movie was made for don't seem
That's
to
not entirely
like it.
true.
That's
You
not
want to talk
entirely true.
about bad puns, Ken? Box Office Mojo says that Gray makes green over Valentine's Day weekend.
Oh.
Ooh,
That's
so witty.
there's a poop joke in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, we're certainly on this podcast going to get into people that liked it versus people that didn't, especially Hawk and myself.
Well,
But,
that's the thing. It's I have heard testimony from people that liked the books, don't like the movie.
Those
Christian
people are weird.
Grey,
Yeah, well, that's their opinion. As long
Did
as
you
long
like
as they
the
did the
movie?
research, they read the book and then they saw the movie. I mean, at least they did their research. I mean, Hawk did his research.
Oh,
I
man.
did my research. So our reviews have merit to it.
I want to talk about
Hawk did wonderful research. If you haven't,
Oh,
if you don't
yeah.
follow him on Twitter at butthole tampons,
You should get on that.
you should, because he did a live, pretty much over the course of several weeks, a live tweet of it, just a commentary on dialogue from the book, and I couldn't believe the shit that was coming up on my screen. It was,
So really quick, I'm going to just not quiz, but ask each of you who saw it, Bill Arsenault, yay or nay?
believe it or not, and I feel kind of guilty about this, yay.
All right, Hawk, yay or nay?
What do you think?
I will accept that answer. Jake,
he has very secular tastes. Okay.
Yay!
okay.
Wait
So
a minute. Wait.
I
follow
never
up.
thought that I would sit down like in a podcast and have to argue why I didn't like 50 Shades of Grey against two other men in their 20s who enjoyed the film.
Real quick though.
Let the
follow-up
games
question.
begin.
Follow-up
with the
question.
girlfriend, though, so let's give me that. All right, I already had my man card put in liquid
Bill
metal.
Leon's trying to say something here.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Follow-up question.
Hawk.
You had to
What's the
draw
follow-up
attention to it. You could have just let it go. The conversation could have kept going, but you had to draw attention to it. Better than Boy Next Door. That's my follow-up question.
Absolutely.
I mean, not in terms of filmmaking, in terms of entertainment, in terms of enjoyability.
In terms of entertainment and enjoyability, no.
Okay.
Boy Next
Yeah.
Door is a masterpiece.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I couldn't. They showed the trailer
Stop.
for this before Boy Next Door, and I was like, "No, this movie's gonna be better."
Right.
There's no cookie puns in
50 Shades. 50 Shades is taking itself a little too seriously. Boy Next Door was just wide open for craziness. So
Well, that brings me to one of the main problems I had with 50 Shades of Grey is that there are elements of it. So the book is oppressively serious, and to the point where like And the movie seems like it is kind of aware of how ridiculous it is, but it's kind of like only good. It kind of only goes half chub with the parody angle.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got good news. The director, Sam Taylor Johnson, had problems with E.L. James throughout the whole production, so she might not even return. So they might have to go get a new director for the next.
I thought she was assigned on for all three. But in any case, yeah, you're right. I mean, there were parts where Sam Taylor Johnson had ideas for a line of dialogue, and E.L. James had a conniption because that's not what she wrote in her book.
This is the woman that married Kick-Ass.
The director married Kick-Ass. Yeah, she's like 15 years older than he is.
She's like his sugar mama. Yeah. This is a little bit weird, but okay. It's perfect director, by the way.
So how exactly, as an author, why did they allow her to have creative control in some ways?
I guess
she kind of just showed up and complained until she got her way, I think, is how I was.
Because the usual MO for authors of books that have movies made after them is the author gets jettisoned as soon as the rights are signed over.
Well, you're talking. I thought you were talking about the director of the movie, not E.L. James.
No, E.L. James is the one who would show up on set and complain until she got her way.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Now, I'm guessing that E.L. James is so passionate about this material. I mean, it started out as she was watching Twilight with her husband. It's like, hey, what if Edward tied Bella up and banged her instead of them just staring at each other? Hold on. So she probably is so passionate. I mean, she's actually pursued this one crazy idea into changing the names and writing 3 500-page books on the same thing. So she probably insisted on retaining some creative control over the movie rights, which is not unusual for an author to do that.
I have to say the movie was better than the book. The movie was better than the book.
Of course,
yes, it was.
I mean, and I don't think that the movie could have been as bad as the book.
It wasn't. It was better.
I don't think there's a possibility that it ever could have been as bad as the book.
Now, may I ask?
In which case,
what really worked so well, though, Bill, is that they took out certain things out of the book that had no reason to be in the movie, and they kept it away from the movie. That there were there were times where I was reading this book and I'm sitting there and I'm like, how did this even get sold so many copies? Because some of the stuff they do in this, I just sit there and I'm like, this is really disturbing, and I'm really glad that they took a lot out of it in the movie because it actually made guys who were dragged to this movie actually enjoy it to a point.
So like the part where he stuffed the metal balls up her vagina and spanked her?
Oh, thank God that was gone.
So if the movie...
No, that would have been so funny! I was waiting for that part.
Yeah, so if the movie is better than the book on a technical level, does that in some weird way loop around where it ends up being less entertaining than the book because the book was hilariously terrible?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, in my opinion.
I think so too, and I haven't seen the movie, but I can just tell by the way they're presenting it, by the way the trailers are. I've heard people describe the way the movie is shot as Kubrick-esque.
I could see that. I could see Kubrick-esque, yeah.
I can see that, but calling the movie Kubrick-esque sounds like something a film student would say to sound like they're more credible than they actually are.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
It would be like you're inside the actor's studio and James Lipton is up there. Yeah.
Comparing this to Kubrick is like comparing any modern car chase to like The French Connection, or like trying to compare fucking Transformers to old kaiju movies or something.
It's a very tenuous thing.
Donnie, you're out of your element.
There are some very good-looking shots in the movie. I won't deny that. Like one of my biggest takeaways from the trailers was like this movie looks like it might actually be pretty tastefully shot. And one of my favorite shots in the film is after, I can't believe I'm talking about this seriously, after Gray takes Anna's virginity and he doesn't.
What? How old is she? She's supposed to be like 25, right?
Yeah, she's never even so much as sucked a dick. So he's playing piano, and there's this really fantastic shot of him playing piano almost in silhouette against a glass wall and in the lit up Seattle skyline. And it was a really nice looking shot. And there are some of those shots in in the movie, but overall, they kind of some of the best shots were in the trailer, and I think I came to the conclusion that just it was a very well shot trailer, and the movie itself, the cinematography is kind of rudimentary.
I thought it was well shot for what it was, pretty much. Like you said, like the shots of Seattle was cool, the helicopter scene, the glider was my favorite part of the book. So I was excited to see the glider, and it was pretty cool how they shot.
I like how you had a favorite, an unironic favorite part of the book.
I had to pick one. I had to. I had to have something to make me feel like walking into this movie after having a few drinks.
I'm looking forward to that glider.
Once the glider came, I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
You just gotta sit back and take it. You know, like, all right, I'm stuck. I don't have a favorite part.
Okay, let it go.
I would describe the photography as unnecessary dynamism. You know, like it's dynamic, but it's not needed for what the source material is. It's like better than the movie. You know what I mean?
I did not. Question for Jake. Did you expect? I never really got a visual image of Gray's brother, but did you expect him to look like a fucking stoner?
No, I didn't. I thought he would look like a gentleman because he's supposed to be the opposite of him, and he comes off looking like one of these surfer dudes from the remake of Point Break. I just sat there and I'm like, what the hell is this?
There's a remake
He looks like John Connor in Terminator 3.
It looks like Nick Stahl, yeah.
Like, what is Nick Stahl doing in this movie? I thought he died like a few years ago from a drug overdose.
There's a remake of Point Break.
Yeah.
There's one being made, yeah.
Yep.
Who played? Wait, okay, so it isn't out yet.
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
No, it's not out yet.
Wow.
But Johnny Utah's gonna be played by the Boarfest. That was the November man, Luke Bracey. So I'm not looking forward to it. Because the original was on
it's a
that
remake
night.
of Point Break. You have no reason to look forward to it.
Yeah, the remake comes out later this year, and it stars Edgar Ramirez and Luke Bracey.
My question is, who's playing Busey? Nobody. Nobody
I think it's
can
Ray
do it.
Winstone.
It's going to be the robot from Short Circuit.
Yeah,
Unless
Ray
you're gonna-
Winstone
okay.
appears to be.
You need to get Jake Busey.
Oh, jeez. No. Gary can act. Jake can't.
That's true, but still. Get
But
him
still,
in there. We need the teeth. We got to compensate for the teeth.
right? Jake has residual Gary Busey in him, so it's
Visual Gary Busey.
so it's something, you know.
Anyway, I watched a movie called Secretary because I knew that I wasn't going to go watch 50 Shades of Grey. And I guess you all seen this movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
Did 50 Shades of Grey rip this shit off wholesale?
Yeah, sort of, but
A
not.
little bit, I would say.
Hawk brought up that, E.L. James was sitting around watching Twilight with her husband. I argue she was sitting around watching Secretary with her husband and then infused the Twilight thing.
Well,
What if she was watching Twilight in one room and he was watching Secretary in the other room, and then they both got up to go get
peanut butter in my
drink?
chocolate. You got chocolate in my peanut butter.
They get
I
up
wonder
to,
if it was like one of those moments. You've heard the famous story of the guy who discovered the theory of displacement by going into the bathtub, and then the water overflows all over the place, and he jumped out of the bathtub shouting "Eureka!" and ran naked through the streets.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more like they were each watching the separate movies in different rooms, and they both went to the fridge to get something to drink, and they ran into each other and fell down and got knocked out. And then when they came to, they both had this psychotic idea. At the same time, like, what if Edward Cullen was a sadist named Gray?
Here are your ice cubes.
Right, there you go.
His name is Gray. Fucking James Spader's character's name in Secretary is Gray.
I was going to bring that up, actually. But yeah, that's true.
That's an
balls to the
interesting
wall crazy.
comparison.
That is borderline plagiarism. I don't even know.
The main difference, though, is Secretary is a self-aware movie with satirical angles and is meant to be watched as it's actually a romantic comedy, just kind of a fucked up one.
I would not personally call it that, but
It's
like
brilliant.
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
It's a romantic comedy
Maggie
where the
Gyllenhaal.
great romance scene involves James Spader coming on Maggie Gyllenhaal's back.
Who did the character of Jose remind you guys of?
Oh my goodness!
When I was reading 50 Shades, I actually tweeted to E.L. James that if Jose was not originally Jacob in her first draft, then I would donate $100 to the charity of her choice. And she never responded to me.
Bitch.
And you know, that was actually something else I liked about the movie, is that they underutilized the supporting characters. I would have wanted
Jose
Kate
is
all
such a
day,
dipshit
everybody
in this
else.
movie. He's okay in the books, but oh my god, he's
In the
the
movie.
movie he's
Get a life, dude.
dingus.
So I'm brought to another question. Tomorrow, after I get off work, I'm going to be driving home and picking up Zach at the train station. It will be probably the first. Yes, because long story short, he's spending the night at a friend's in downtown Chicago, and then he's taking the train out to where I live in the far western suburbs. Anyway, point being, in all likelihood, tomorrow evening is going to be the very first time Zach's sat in an American movie theater in a good couple years. So, is 50 Shades of Grey the perfect movie to break his American cherry?
Yes.
I mean,
I think that's okay.
That's kind of the thing, is that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jake and Bill kind of enjoy this movie on its own merits and not as some schlocky thing that's so bad it's funny. Am I right?
Which is mind-blowing.
Yes.
And I thought that 50 Shades of Grey was insufferable and not in any way entertaining for any reason. So either Zach is going to find the movie good on its artistic merits, or he's going to fucking hate it. There's no.
Zach's got real weird sensibilities. And that's what I love about Zach, is I never know how he's going to react to something.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is.
I could go any fucking way, honestly.
Unless you guys just want to be miserable together and taxi after you're done, I don't watch this movie because you're gonna have a good time and laugh at it, because that's
I would say
not what it is.
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. If you want to have a good, commentary with a friend of yours about how bad or good a movie is, go see 50 Shades. If you want to just have a good time, go see Kingsman.
Yes.
If I can, before we segue into Kingsman,
because I can tell we desperately want to.
No, I'm not quite done with 50 Shades.
Well, yeah, no, I agree.
I have not yet heard exactly why Bill and Jake actually liked the movie.
Let's hear it.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Well, my reasoning for liking this movie has a lot to do with the circumstances of me seeing this movie. I saw it on Valentine's Day alone. Okay. I went to the theater. I bought some Milk Duds. I actually went up to the first I went up to the usher people, and I was like, "Yeah, I'd like a ticket for 50 Shades of Grey, please." And they didn't give me a look or anything. They were just, "Oh, okay, here you go." They've been doing it all day. Nope, it was like muscle react. It was like muscle memory.
They may have assumed you were meeting someone there. Like, I mean, at a certain point, it's not their business to question people.
I mentioned this in my review, but I went to go see 50 Shades, and I was like, she's like, "Okay, what do you want to see?" I was like, "Oh God, help me, 50 Shades, please." She's like, "1 or 2?"
Bitch, are you serious? That is condescending as fuck, dude.
No. She's actually a really sweet girl.
Oh,
she's there almost every time I buy a ticket. She's really nice.
This is your Whiplash girl.
I looked at her straight in the eye. I was like, "Just one." She's like,
"This is your Whiplash girl.
I like your style. I like the way you're doing this."
And
it was a flashback of exactly 1 year ago when I had to review Endless Love for the local magazine. And I was like, I need one for Endless Love too, an insufferable romance.
That would
I need Endless Love, please.
Endless Love 2, an insufferable romance.
And the guy was like, it's like, "Just one?" It's like, "Yep." He's like, "Oh my God, I did not mean it like that." I was like, okay. I'm seeing Endless Love alone, and in a year from now, I'll be seeing 50 Shades of Grey alone.
You really did.
So
There you go,
I thought it was funny because the girl was totally like, she's like, I like your style. I like the way you're doing this. I was like, thank you. I'm going to hate my life for the next 2 hours. She's like, it's not that bad. I said, it will be that bad.
How creepy is Christian Grey in this movie?
Not creepy at all.
Not as creepy as the book.
Yeah, he's
Really?
not creepy enough, really.
Not as creepy as the book.
He's creepy, but he's not like,
Not creepy enough.
Yeah, not creepy enough like to
Yeah.
push the movie to where it really should have gone. Yeah,
Not to the point where somebody for Halloween would dress up as Christian Grey.
Well, we got 2 more movies coming out. We have 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades of Grey, Dead Man's Chest, and then 50 Shades of Grey at World's End is going to come out.
50 Shades of Grey, Dead Man's Chest sounds dangerously close to a Cleveland Steamer reference. I just had to say.
Oh my goodness.
Well, all right, that was a good note to swing it back my way. So why? I don't know. It just was. I kind of want to get it out why I like this movie. Aside from the technical aspects, which I thought were handled very well, and Dakota Johnson, right? Not her acting. Yeah, right.
Wait. This chick, Dakota Johnson, that's her name, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you guys know whose daughter she is?
Melanie
Don
Griffith
Johnson.
and Don Johnson.
What the fuck? That's insane. That's insane.
She was in The Social Network.
Was she? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
she was. And
I
she
only
was
remember,
the
I only
girl
remember
that-
Brenda
She
Song.
was the girl that Justin Timberlake woke up with.
Right.
She
I
was
only
in
remember
21
Brenda
Street
Song
as well.
in that movie.
Erica.
I remember Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior, was in The Social Network, and she gave someone a blowjob.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's true. Wow.
London Tipton from
Yeah, there
Sweet
you-
Life of Zack and Cody.
All right then.
Well, anyway. So the ending comes along, and for anyone who's listening and don't like spoilers, I'm gonna go ahead and just say spoiler alert. The end of the movie is basically she wants to know why he is the way he is, and he's not wanting to give anything away. So she's like, "So show me." So they go into his pleasure room, and he beats her mercilessly with a belt 5 times.
6 times.
And 6 times. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 6.
And she says,
I don't know why I corrected you on that. I'm sorry.
it doesn't matter. 6, 5 times. And she's like, "Don't ever touch me again. Don't ever do that again."
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this the scene where he says, "I have very
Agree,
secular taste"?
And that's where the movie ends. Right. That's where the movie ends. The
It's
movie.
really interesting.
The
and I
movie
think
just ends.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's okay. You stop.
You were cutting out, so I didn't hear you talking. So
The connection was fucking up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Was it really? Okay. It doesn't matter. I was just saying that's where the movie ends.
Yeah, and it was interesting because throughout the movie, and again, I'm ashamed that I'm actually discussing this movie to this depth, but part of she has to sign a contract to agree to be his submissive, and when they're doing their thing, she has to say yellow if she's nearing her limit of what she can endure, and red if she has passed it, and he must stop there because he's not like a rapist.
Man.
He's just a dominant. And when it gets to at the part in the she's getting to the elevator, he starts to walk towards her. She's like, "Christian, no," and he keeps walking, and she yells, "No," and then he stops. Sam Taylor Johnson wanted her to yell red, which I thought would have been really good, but again, E.L. James, God bless her, put the kibosh on that. She's like, "No, she doesn't say that till the second book. She can't say it."
That would have been that would have been an even better. Not to say that this was a great ending, but that would have been a much superior ending. If
that would have been just one word change would have made it a lot more profound on an emotional level.
Clever, yeah.
So I want to really point out really quick the chemistry of the two actors. What do you guys think?
It wasn't there.
No,
I thought it matched the book.
not at all. It was like actually, that's one thing that I actually found really funny about the movie is that it is very obvious that Dakota Johnson and Jamie whatever.
Jamie
Dornan, yeah.
Dornan,
yeah.
Jamie Dornan do not like being around each other at all.
They have an odd on-screen chemistry, which is anti-chemistry, I would say. It's not like they're bland with each other, but I would agree that there is kind of
there's a repulsion.
A repulsion to each other, right?
And it worked really well.
I mean, if you had to go through those scenes, but if you had to go through those scenes that they do in the movie, and that you see from the book, and you have to play those kind of characters, you wouldn't be happy either, because they really did do a lot of. There was a lot of nudity in this movie, and there was a lot of uncomfortable scenes at times.
Like hard nipples.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I mean, certain things, certain subject matter. Like, she even talked about in an interview that right after Sam Taylor Johnson said cut, Jamie took a blanket and threw it over her naked body because she was so uncomfortable because the crew was around and they were trying to get this shot down. It pretty much, to the point, that's actually why I liked the movie, because it actually, the ending was what I liked because it gave her independence. It also gave her a limit to how much she could take. So much that she pretty much said, I can't be with you anymore. And I actually like that. I like that they did not romanticize S&M. They made it look like it was actually a very disgusting thing at times. And yes, people have their likings here and there, but it's not for everybody. And that's actually what I really liked about it. The anti-chemistry was actually pretty good, too, because Jamie Dornan played Christian Grey as awkward and as robotic as you can. Because I've seen him in that show, The Fall, and I thought he was actually pretty good in that. Dakota Johnson was my favorite part of the movie. I think she has a real future as an actress. She had some good comic timing at times. The girl who played Kate was pretty good, but I kind of felt like they needed a little bit of Marcia Gay Harden because I really like her as an actress. But like I said, when it came to that point, when they were more emphasized on Christian and Anastasia, I thought it was, good enough to the point. And that I wasn't like gouging my eyes out or anything, or looking at my girlfriend like, man, do you realize what I'm doing for you to see this movie? I actually found it pretty good, and I liked the ending. I liked that they gave her independent thought, that they knew what the material was silly and ridiculous. They tried to put a little comic appeal into it, so I give it credit for trying, and the cinematography was actually pretty solid. So
I would argue she already had independent thought, because she never signed the contract.
That's true.
Jake, what has your girlfriend done to you? Because I'm really concerned right now.
Nothing like that.
I mean,
have you
not
signed
like
any
that.
contracts recently by any
brainwashed,
chance?
or like maybe at some point, like maybe a third or 2/3 of the way through the movie, something snapped in your mind, and now you like
That's possible.
I spent 2.5 minutes telling me how you really enjoyed how Jamie Dornan portrayed Christian Grey as robotic, and that Dakota Johnson was really amazing, and that the anti-chemistry worked. And I'm really concerned right now, buddy.
Are you familiar with the term pegging?
Here's the bottom line. I liked the movie more than I liked the book. Okay, maybe I just like the appeal of the actors. Maybe I actually liked that they kept most of the stuff that I didn't like in the book out of the movie. So, and I actually liked that at times it looked like Sam Taylor Johnson was shooting her own movie and not listening to E.L. James. So
this implies that you liked things.
And the soundtrack was good. I said I liked it to a point. Okay, I said it in like a 3 beers kind of way. I'm going to defend it, and I'm always going to say I liked 50 Shades of Grey. I'm not going to lie about it.
I want to envision like a stage production of 50 Shades of Grey where they keep Anna's so in the book, and Jake will know what I'm talking about. In the book, Anna makes constant references to what she calls her subconscious and what she calls her inner goddess in this really poorly written, badly characterized. She's like, Christian's like, I want to fuck you in the ass. And then in that talk, she's like, my inner goddess runs behind and hides behind the couch. And
I was so awkward. I just sat there watching it in the theater, and I'm like,
so
Jake, whoa, okay.
Jake, what if there's like what if there was like the stage production where you have Christian and Anna, they're talking, and then Anna's subconscious and her inner goddess are portrayed by two other actresses, and they do their thing as they're interacting with the subconscious runs over here, and the inner goddess gets all excited, and like that's art. That's art.
That would be like if Pixar took over the production of the movie. They would do something like that.
There's this. I was in this. Oh, go ahead. If Pixar took it over.
Oh no, I was done with my Pixar rant. Go ahead.
You lost me when you said inner goddess. What the fuck?
Oh my god.
That's like her inner sexual thing or whatever. I don't know.
That's insane.
I think I was live tweeting about this book. I was live tweeting about this book maybe 10, 15 different days. Maybe more than half of those I had to get drunk before I started. And I think the inner goddess, if I'm remembering correctly, had to do with like her adventurous sexual side. It's like, hell yeah, get fucked in the ass. I'm excited for this. I was in this stage production a while ago where it had two girls.
Wait, what?
What?
You were in a stage production like how long ago?
It was a few years ago. High school.
Oh, okay.
And it's a legitimate thought that I've had, having the story adapted like this. Is these two women having having tea together, and they're talking and being very sweet, and then two male actors portray those girls' subconscious, and as the girls are saying something like whatever, something very polite, her subconscious or her inner thoughts say something like what she's actually thinking to the other girl's subconscious. So you have the two girls sitting at the table being polite and sweet to each other, and the two male actors, who I should add are wearing the exact same attire, a dress.
Whoa,
I don't know if that's
necessary.
In high school, I wore a dress and said horrible things to another guy who was also wearing.
Oh, this is a production you were. I thought this was like an idea you had. I thought you were.
No. I was acting. This is a real thing. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
I would picture an interesting, ironic stage production of 50 Shades of Grey that involved Anna's subconscious as two other actresses kind of floating on the outskirts of the stage, doing their thing and commenting on things as they happen. I would really enjoy a meta version of 50 Shades of Grey where that happened, even though that part of the book was so massively shitty. If someone could put together something that was like very ironically reverent of that whole aspect, that would be really I would watch that.
Using the term anti-chemistry came up, and whenever I think of anti-anything in film, I think of Harmony Korine. So I was sitting here thinking, like, what if Harmony Korine made 50 Shades of Grey?
If Harmony Korine directs 50 Shades Darker, I will be so happy.
I would love it. I would love it.
First of all, it's going to be an NC-17 if that happens. If they even give it a rating,
it's going to be released on demand because it's
going to be released on a VHS tape you can buy over his website.
He's going to release it piece by piece in Vine videos.
But no. So like that made me think of like what writer-director would you like to see do the first 50 Shades book?
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan.
Steven Soderbergh.
Soderbergh was actually up for this movie.
The Girlfriend Experience.
Girlfriend Experience is a very good film.
Soderbergh his name was in the running to direct 50 Shades.
It popped up for this, yeah.
Yeah, it was in the running for a while, but
you would want Soderbergh.
Well, of course, yeah. That would be a much different story altogether, though.
What about like Michael Bay?
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh my God! It'd be car chase. Like when they would get the new car, they would have to go do a car chase against Jose. That's probably how it would be.
May I just suggest really quick, Spike Lee?
Oh,
he's not what he is anymore.
He might be making his own 50 Shades.
The Sweet Blood of Jesus.
The Sweet Blood of Jesus looks very 50 Shades to me. And you know what? Can we? Did you watch that yet, Bill?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I
okay.
What about the guy who directed Black Snake Moan?
Oh shit! Some Craig
Armstrong?
Yeah, Craig Robinson. Yeah.
Craig Robinson, yeah.
No, it's not Craig Robinson.
No, it's Craig.
That's
Craig Robinson. He's in the Hot Tub Time Machine. Craig Brewer.
That's terrible.
Craig Brewer. Yes.
Oh, the director.
What else has he done?
Whoa.
Ken, you haven't watched 50 Shades, but you're familiar with the subject matter. Who's your dream filmmaker for this?
Dream.
Okay, if I could choose a dream filmmaker,
living or dead? How about that?
Okay, living or dead. Now that's interesting.
Challenge accepted.
This is insane. Yeah, we just got fucking balls to the wall with it.
All right.
What about
I'm actually gonna throw this out here because I just think it would be a completely off the wall random concept. I'd like to see Lucio Fulci. Because like all Italian filmmakers, they have a bizarre attachment to fetishes.
He did make opera, right?
I didn't see that, so
That's a weird one. Yeah, that's some psycho shit. Like that
but
guy's
Lucio
crazy.
Fulci's films
Dude's crazy.
His films tend to include any moment of violence accentuated to the nth degree. I mean, the most famous scene, obviously, anyone who's seen Zombie or Zombie 2, as it's known in some places, is the scene where the girl's being grabbed by a zombie and her eye is slowly pulled directly into a splinter, and you watch as it happens. In a similar vein, in the movie City of the Living Dead, there's a scene where a dude's head gets screwed through with a tabletop drill. Yeah, Fulci would be the perfect director to helm a just completely messed up version. Alternately, I would also go with the other Italian horror maestro, Dario Argento.
That would be awesome.
Here's my deal.
Only if Goblin if his band, his prog rock band Goblin also scores it.
Well, actually, I was going to say
Goblin scoring the film will be conditional on Dario Argento directing. I would also take Werner Herzog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we get Tom Savini to do the special effects? Like, he would make it so epic at the end of that movie. He would have her, like, pouring blood out or something.
Why can't we have Harryhausen doing, like, the prop dicks?
If Werner Herzog directed, I would say Werner Herzog circa 1970s, because he would have to have the Heart of Glass thing. For those of you who haven't seen Heart of Glass, in that movie, every single actor in the movie Heart of Glass was put into a state of hypnosis during every shot, with the exception of one character. And so, literally, the entire movie is you see these characters who, through the whole movie, they just seem out of it and kind of, and they're delivering dialogue in just the most bizarre of ways. I can imagine E.L. James' dialogue being delivered via hypnosis.
Tommy Wiseau.
If
writer director
that could maybe increase your enjoyment of the film with Zach, I would pool your money together and spend the $6 on the book, and just kind of
oh shit! Hold on. And also, if I could have cast the Shades of Grey movie with any performer, Christian Grey, of course, would have to be Klaus Kinski.
Well, no, we got totally different visions on this, buddy. I gotta say, Tommy Wiseau, writer and director, Crispin Glover as Christian Grey.
Oh my god.
who Cameron Diaz as Anna, right?
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe Cameron Diaz as Anastasia Steele. They've worked together. They worked together in Charlie's Angels. You know that.
It's like if you move everyone's
hell, bring in McGee. Let's just have McGee direct this.
No, don't have McGee. Stop it. What are you doing here?
Oh, how about David Lynch directs
I was going to say David Lynch, yeah.
Dennis Hopper as Christian Grey.
Horrifying. in the David Lynch version, so in the movie, Anna's nipples are like crazy hard in every single scene, and that was one thing that Felix pointed out to me. She's like, it was so awkward that like as soon as her shirt comes off, nipples are like, and so David Lynch, like the nipples would be like little like evil monster things that eat Christian's face, and then he wakes up from a nightmare and he's in hell or something.
Or something, right?
I think we just made the movie better.
I would like to see David Cronenberg take this on.
We're pretty much giving the asylum-free
History
idea
of
right now at
violence.
this point.
Yeah.
I think he would have added some kind of weird, visceral body horror kind of, aspect to it, like.
You mean that naked fight scene in Easter Promise?
I don't want to see anybody. Well, yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to see anybody pull something out of anyone else's body, but then again, like there are scenes cut from the book that do involve people pulling things out of people's bodies. So
well, that's pretty close to how I feel about this movie and why I kind of like it. By the end, I came to the conclusion that this movie, the movie, not the book, the movie was the destruction of the female fantasy of the from erotic novels and young adult novels and stuff. That's ultimately what this movie was, because by the end of the movie, she walks away. Like throughout the whole movie, she's trying to get Christian to open up to her, and she slowly comes to realize after getting to know him, there's nothing more there to Christian. Christian's just this blank slate of a guy who likes to whip women. And so once you kind of realize,
like a really shitty character who was poorly written.
That's E.L. James's fault. Like I said, I think. No, go ahead, Bill.
Oh, it's not just that. That's true, but that also is the irony of the situation, is that it's also very meta, because she realizes he's a poorly written character, and she can't fall in love with. There's no depth there. So she walks out of the movie completely disgusted and sad and disappointed, and I was like, exactly. That's exactly how a rational person reading this shit would feel.
Right.
And so that's kind of why I have. See, my reason for liking this movie is completely different from what people who genuinely like it will probably think. I genuinely liked it, but for my own personal reasons, and that was that reason. And that's kind of why I think a Cronenbergian visual style would have lended best to this, because it would have really, put through the that very message, in a visual manner.
So, Bill, who is your dream writer-director, dead or alive, for 50 Shades?
For 50 Shades, like I said, David Cronenberg.
Okay, so that is.
Okay, if I could pick a secondary one, Billy Wilder.
That's kind of crazy.
That's really crazy. Well, wait, was Billy Wilder the one who directed that movie, the Shop Around the Corner?
Well, he's your dream director. You tell me.
I know he made Some Like It Hot.
Yes.
I don't know. Well, I'm asking Ken. Ken, who directed The Shop Around the Corner?
Shop Around the Corner. I'm actually looking up Billy Wilder's filmography because I have seen it, but I don't remember if he directed it or not.
Okay, because
didn't he also do The Odd Couple?
Let's see. He did not direct The Shop Around the Corner. Billy Wilder, by the way, for those of you who are looking, some of the films in his filmography include movies such as Double Indemnity, Sunset Boulevard, Stalag
Holy
17.
Shit, are you... Double Indemnity?
Double Indemnity,
yeah.
Ass.
That's one of the best movies ever made.
I don't know about that. I'm not going to go that far. But
he also directed The Apartment, Some Like It Hot, Witness for the Prosecution. He was one of the great filmmakers of his time.
He would direct the fuck out of. Whoa! What if the Coen brothers did 50 Shades?
It would have a nugget of 50 Shades.
Heavy on the subtext and the social commentary and the irony.
No, well, here's the thing: is that if the Coen brothers made 50 Shades of Grey, the whole dynamic of the story would change because there would be greater emphasis on character, which the book and the movie both lack completely.
Yeah.
50 Shades with Cohen dialogue would be like I'm like getting a headache trying to
Here's the deal. Who's seen Burn After Reading?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a scene where George Clooney shows Frances McDormand his dildo chair.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's your little window into that world. Is that single scene in Burn After Reading?
One of the funniest scenes in that movie is where George Clooney angrily destroys the chair, and he hits the dildo, and it's like.
All right.
That right there,
actually,
that right there shows you that the Coen brothers could tackle something like this with a humorous brevity.
Oh yeah.
Borrowing on the opposite angle of brevity, though, I mentioned Billy Wilder, and so I mentioned Sunset Boulevard. It's worth noting that there's a filmmaker, a famous silent era filmmaker in Sunset Boulevard, Eric von Stroheim, and if he directed.
He did a good 50 Shades. Yeah.
If he directed 50 Shades of Grey, it would be about 7 hours long and go about 25 times over budget, and he would refuse to complete a shot until it was absolutely perfect. And
so I think you're describing Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac Parts 1 and 2.
So yeah, well, they're both German, so maybe Lars von Trier sees himself as the modern day Stroheim.
Probably the same person. He just twirls his cloak and spins around, and he's the other guy. So I guess for 50 Shades, again, like a lot of you guys have probably read the review. The big problems that Felix and I, like we were in agreement on every single beer. We thought it was boring, the pacing. We thought there was no chemistry. That the dialogue was absolutely rancid, although, to be fair, it was better than what was in the book. We thought that, what were the other beers? I'm, like, trying to remember now. I wasn't really in a coherent state of mind when I wrote most of that review. I
think at this point we should really move on, because I think we've talked 50 Shades pretty much all to death.
Yeah, final thoughts, 50 Shades.
I was just, is that we've discussed, like, some things about it and who should direct it. I'm just kind of giving my final thoughts on why I really hated it. And kind of like we really tried to separate our thoughts on why the whole idea of 50 Shades is actually wrong on sort of a moral level. So that doesn't really factor into why I hated it. It was just, I don't know. I got to the movie a little early, and I was like, okay, it's going to be packed, so I better get here early. And I got in there, and it's going to be, I'm sitting in there. I'll be right there. Just like 50-year-old women, slightly overweight or more so, just coming in, and followed by these just husbands and boyfriends that just look so upset, just to trudge, like not walking in, trudging in, holding the popcorn and the soda, and I locked eyes with one of them, and I said, I feel your pain, buddy, because I ain't coming in with nobody. And
so,
again, like, and most of the theater was actually laughing really hard at most of the movie, and there was one guy behind me with his wife. They were there. They were there not because they wanted to see it, but because they were there to laugh at it. And they were part of my enjoyment of it. Like, there was one part where Christian has Anna see a physician, and she was like, oh yeah, I can't have sex for 4 weeks. He's like, what? She's like, oh, just joking. And the guy behind me was like, bitch. And like, this guy's like laughing at all the best parts. And I wanted to like shake his hand, and it was like, you made this movie way more fun than it should have been.
I would have shook that motherfucker's hand. Hell, if I had been at Boy Next Door while I was in the theater, I would have shook my fucking hand.
You should
But
have.
anyway, it looks like Hawk Ripjaw had to answer the door, so let's move on to the Kingsman Secret Service.
Yes.
So, Kingsman Secret Service is the latest spy action film from Matthew Vaughn, most famously directing X-Men First Class.
I would argue Kick-Ass, yeah.
Yeah, I would say Kick-Ass. Yeah.
Kick-Ass was big, and his first film that really brought him big was Layer Cake. That movie got not only him noticed as a filmmaker, but it's arguably the film that won Daniel Craig the Bond role.
Mm-hmm.
Let me argue, or not argue, let me promote real quick. I have a podcast that I run through Movie Boozer, so this isn't like a selfish plug or anything. Called Trailer Trash. You can find us on SoundCloud, Trailer Trash Recycled. We went through every Matthew Vaughn trailer, and including Layer Cake. I didn't know anything about Layer Cake before I watched this trailer. Seems like a real dynamic, fun action movie. So yeah, I would watch that in a heartbeat.
Well, Guy Ritchie produced Layer Cake.
Right, and I
Guy
think
Ritchie was the one that pretty much got Matthew Vaughn's start.
right, and that's
Layer Cake is definitely a movie to watch if you haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I want to talk about Kick-Ass because the first Kick-Ass movie came out, and the TV spots and the trailers that they were trying to sell it with gave me a heavy Mystery Men vibe. So before watching Kick-Ass, I was basically in the back of my mind thinking like, oh, this is like Mystery Men. And then I sat down and watched the movie, and it blew me away. It's nothing like Mystery Men. I loved it. I went out and I read the comics. I became a big fan. I highly anticipated Kick-Ass 2, and then that came out. And
You were highly disappointed.
oh yeah, that was what it was. Just the fact that Matthew Vaughn was even involved in that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
He just produced it, right?
Yeah, but he should have directed that fucking movie, man.
He
Like,
should have, but he was doing
Yeah, I
X-Men,
mean-
right?
it is astounding the fact that you put Kick-Ass 1 and 2 side by side, and the flaws and the differences in directing are so painfully obvious
Yeah.
that, it's fucking astounding.
It's
But
really the difference between Caddyshack and Caddyshack 2.
Well, it doesn't help things that it was by the director of that cheap knockoff that I actually like, Never Back Down. And in Wadlow, that's pretty much what he does. And you see the difference.
Jeff Wadlow, I don't know anything about him. This movie of which you speak,
Wolf.
I have not seen, and I have no faith in, just because of the fact that he let me down so much with this Kick-Ass movie. Like, this should have been an awesome, fun, Tarantino-esque little movie, and what we got was fucking cardboard
Yeah,
I
but
thought it was
then
fine.
Matthew Vaughn redeemed himself.
with this film, and that's the thing. Is
In Kingsman.
I was
seen
very
Kingsman.
skeptical. Well, that's the thing is that my whole spiel about Kick-Ass and everything is just that I'm trying to say that I was so skeptical about Kingsman because
I wasn't.
I
Like,
wasn't.
after
I saw
Kick-Ass
the
2,
first
I was
trailer.
like, I was so skeptical about, like, does he still have it? Like, and Kick-Ass 2 kind of subverted my expectations really low, and Kingsman blew him away, 100%.
I would actually say I definitely agree to some extent, Bill. I was skeptical, but for a different reason. The trailers for Kingsman made it look like it was going to be kind of a young adult spy flick that just happened to have a older spy character in it in order to try to appeal to a wider range of audiences. It felt kind of from a cynical movie-going perspective, when I saw the trailer, my thought was, so this is basically going to be a comedic Hunger Games for boys.
Now,
That's the way it kind of looked like it was going.
knowing
I didn't see that at all. I saw pretty much what Matthew Vaughn is good at, and that is pretty much changing the genre. I mean, he did that with the superhero genre with Kick-Ass, and now he was going to try it with the Secret Service. And I think the best thing that happened to Secret Service was making it rated R, because pretty much he could do whatever he wanted, and it worked out beautifully.
Well, there's
With a caveat, I will get to that later, but I do have a caveat as far as the phrase "he can do whatever he wanted."
That's true. I just want to say, like, this is based on a Mark Millar comic, and Mark Millar is he's a very vulgar writer.
Yes.
So really, for this, if this had been rated anything except R, it probably would have been unacceptable.
Right.
Knowing that Matthew Vaughn was actually in charge of this film made me, like I said, less skeptical. When I saw the trailer for the first time, it shows Marv Films, which is his production company.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like Kick-Ass Kick-Ass 2 was under Marv Films, and that was a piece of garbage. So
well, he produced it.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, finding out that he was the director of this, immediately I started to see his style in it. I started to see his kind of over the edge, that element that he brings that really kind of takes shit to this kind of heightened level. I don't want to say cartoony because it's not cartoony, but you know what I mean.
Loved is when he matches nostalgia and then he punches in social satire in there as well. I mean, it comes off as twisted. Like when Free Bird started playing, I was like, I'm in. Let's get this movie rolling. Let's go. Let's go.
So I was backtracking a little bit. I was not at all skeptical when I saw these trailers. I didn't read the King it was just called The Secret Service when it was the graphic novel. I perused it, and the graphic novel, I was like, this has to be an R-rated film. And I saw the trailer. I was 110% in. I was like, I cannot fucking wait for this. So I've been pretty much on pins and needles ever since the first trailer dropped. Because again, I love Matthew Vaughn's style. I think he's a very his kinetic style is just so exciting to look at.
I used the term Tarantino-esque when I was referring to, I think, the first Kick-Ass movie, and that is something I consistently get out of every film he directs, which is that he takes a lot of influence from Tarantino, but he takes it in the right direction, where he distills it and does it his own way.
Yeah, I would say visually I could see a Tarantino comparison. Not as much with dialogue. Matthew Vaughn isn't, I think, as writerly of a.
I wasn't referring to script at all.
Right. So, first of all, I want to say I did fucking enjoy this movie from beginning to end. I think that the main thing that I think really keeps this film going is the fact that it's very consistent. There is not a single slouch of a character in the movie. With one exception. I think the character who plays sort of the maybe not love interest of Fegsy, the girl spy,
Roxy?
the Kingswoman, Roxy. Her character's really underutilized, but other than that, you've got a wonderful performance from Colin Firth. You've got Samuel L. Jackson hamming it up in his best Bond villain.
You've got this kid, whoever that kid is that played Egsby. Oh my God! That kid is destined for some lead roles.
You know it.
I
was excited about that.
Also, I should point out, just as a disclaimer and informational to people listening, I fell asleep during this movie, and it wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
I did not plan to go see this movie. It was after a lot of drinking had occurred, and me and a buddy were like, "Yeah, let's go fucking see Kingsman." And there were
there were altered states.
I fell asleep for a while in between the second and third act.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I saw all of the first act, the first half of the second act, and the second half of the third act. So that's that one chunk I'm missing. And I'm not saying, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have a valid review to give. I'm just going to kind of give my comments as far as, how I felt about certain things. But I did like the movie, what I saw. I need to go back and watch it again. And that is something I am going to do as soon as possible.
I loved this film. I have seen it twice now. I saw it once on Sunday, and I saw it yesterday on my day off.
Nice.
And I'm very comfortable saying that not only is this very likely going to be on my top 10 at the end of the year, this is one of the most entertaining movies. This is one of, I don't know, it's hyperbole, but this is one of my new favorite movies.
See, you'd rank this higher than any Matthew Vaughn film.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just so much fun. I think I was talking to one of my employees today, and I was talking about Kingsman. He's like, I said it's from the director of Kick-Ass. He's like, I didn't really like Kick-Ass because some of the humor felt forced. And I feel like that's a valid point. I mean, everything about Kingsman just clicked into place.
I love Kick-Ass.
I really like Kick-Ass too, but I can't.
You love Kick-Ass too.
I like Kick-Ass.
I know. I'm fucking with you. I know.
I also enjoyed the first Kick-Ass film.
I love the first Kick-Ass.
Directed by Matthew Vaughn. But I don't know. There's just so much that works for Kingsman. Not the least of which is that classic Bond vibe. Like I'm a huge Bond fan. The Spy Who Loved Me is probably my favorite Bond film.
Goldfinger.
Well, and even for Goldfinger and The Spy Who Loved Me are both Bond films that are very well known for their bombast, like the crazy villain, the gadgets, the ridiculous stuff that happens, and Kingsman is very clearly a love letter to all those films. One of my favorite scenes is when what's his name, Galahad is talking to Samuel L. Jackson's character, Valentine. And I thought it was really funny how Valentine says when he was a kid he always wanted to be like the secret agent hero like James Bond. And Galahad, he always managed himself as the crazy villain. And there's that role reversal there.
I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, it's like the movie is just so fucking clever on every single level.
It is. You're absolutely right, Hawk. It is a love letter to the classic Bond films. And they even bring up a point to that. They go, today's Bond films, they're too serious. I like the ones with the gadgets and the beautiful girls. And I was like, yes, I couldn't agree more. I mean, there was odes to Moonraker, Spy Who Loved Me, You to Kill. There was Dr. No. There was a lot of... Mark,
now here's the deal, though.
Can we bring up that cameo at the beginning of the movie that really just set it off? Like I felt like this was going to be awesome. Mark Hamill.
Oh well, okay. You use the word cameo, and I wouldn't use the word cameo for his performance.
Here's something I found fascinating, by the way, about Mark Hamill being in the film. After the fact, I just went online, and when I found out that this was a comic book, I read the description. Apparently, in the comic book, there is a character named Mark Hamill who is an environmental scientist. And in this
Mark
case,
Hamill himself gets kidnapped in the comic.
Right. So it's a classic Matthew Vaughn kind of decision, I think, where he's like, you know what? So instead, let's just actually cast Mark Hamill.
Well, an early draft of the script actually has celebrities being kidnapped, which is why you have that one-off line on the TV about Iggy Azalea going missing. Yeah. Vaughn's early draft of the script had a lot of actual celebrities getting kidnapped, but then it got a little bit too complicated, so he kind of nixed a whole bunch of that and went with what we have now. I think one of my favorite aspects of the film actually is the score. Like, I have been listening to the soundtrack to this film almost nonstop for the past 2 days, because it has like this awesome John Barry vibe, but it's got sort of a contemporary feel to it as well.
Yeah, Henry Jackman, he outdid himself on the music. It was masterful. Masterful.
I mean, there's no obviously the bad guy has to die, but the main hook of the soundtrack that plays when at the moment of his death is something that I'm actually going, like, after tonight, I've been trying to find an app for this for the past day or so. Haven't had time. I'm gonna make that hook my ringtone because it's just such an awesome soundtrack.
It is.
One of my favorite scenes in the film is the skydiving sequence. I don't know why, but I have a specific aversion to skydiving scenes in movies. I don't know why it is, but whenever I see a skydiving scene in a movie, I'm like, oh, boring. What the fuck? But then I think it's testament to both the soundtrack and to the cinematography in this film, where the first half of the sequence is very carefree and like, we're having fun and stuff. Yeah. And then Merlin is like, you're supposed to respond under pressure. Like, what happens when one of you doesn't have a parachute? And all of a sudden, not only does the score change, but the cinematography changes to like this. It's a lot, instead of like the camera being pulled back and like skydiving with them, it's frantic, up close, quick cutting, and this ended up being like my armpits were sweaty after this scene because it was such an incredibly exciting scene. And I think that's testament to the strength of both the cinematography and the score, is that even though you know that both these two characters are going to be fine, it is just absolutely thrilling to have this scene unfold. And, you know, that was kind of like the one of the big things that took home with me is like, holy shit, that was intense.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with you 100% with that. And to add to that, I think it's time we talk about Samuel L. Jackson as a performer in this film.
Oh yeah.
I
don't think he was. I don't think his character was written to have a lisp.
Can I start with this?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I think he was doing an impression of Russell Simmons. It sounds weird, but Samuel L. Jackson in this film is slightly flamboyant. He has a very oversized baseball cap, and he speaks with a lisp. And these are all traits you could apply to Russell Simmons, like to the T. I constantly found myself thinking like he's doing Russell Simmons.
For those of you who don't know, Russell Simmons is the founder of Def Jam.
But even beyond that, he's the brother of Run from Run DMC. So
right.
even just because of that, he's had a huge influence on hip hop. Just basically, he founded Def Jam and signed them, and you know all like the Beastie Boys and so many different artists. But if you've ever seen Russell Simmons in an interview, his mannerisms and the way he speaks, it's very reminiscent of Samuel L. Jackson in The Kingsman.
Now, with that said, I certainly can see where you're coming from with that, because Russell Simmons certainly does have a bit of a lisp. I actually did read a bit of trivia on the film, and apparently Samuel L. Jackson himself grew up with a lisp.
Yeah, and I'm saying that. I believe it.
And my understanding is that he kind of brought that back in order to play the role. So.
Yeah, I read that too. I thought it was really fun how is that both Sam Jackson's character Valentine and his right-hand woman Gazelle were both very charismatic people, and one thing that kind of struck me about Gazelle and by extension Valentine is that they'd probably both be really nice people in real life.
The characters, you mean like if you just met them cordially?
Well, like Gazelle is a very nurturing character. Like I think one of my favorite scenes in the movie, I won't spoil what happens, but is Valentine shoots somebody and Gazelle's like, yeah, that felt really good, right? And she's like a very nice. She's just she's kind of a sweet woman, which I thought was very funny for a girl that has swords for legs and kills like several people in this film.
Yeah, they'd be really nice people to meet. You know, I mean, what with all those genocidal tendencies, that's.
But, no, I mean, like if you excise the genocidal stuff, they're both very charismatic people, and I thought that and that's kind of something that I think is one of the marks of a really good villain is one who's charismatic and who also thinks they're doing the right thing.
Right. Yes.
But of course, that list was fantastic, and again, that reverence for the classic films, like, and I think that list, a lot of people were chuckling at that, and also like Valentine's little outbursts of anger, like when he's using the biometric scanner to code his hand to things, like, God damn it, this fucking hurts, and then when they activate the device that makes his followers' heads explode, you can see his face reflecting in the screen. He's like, no! Samuel L. Jackson's performance was incredible in this film.
I don't.
He was the quintessential Bond villain of the '60s and the '70s. That was what I felt.
I gotta say,
I like the new Bond
I do
movies
too.
with Daniel Craig, but De Silva was a good callback to that. But Le Chiffre from Casino Royale, the guy that cried blood, I mean, he was okay. He was menacing, but he's no Blofeld. You know, he's no Baron Samedi. It's like it's again that callback to those corny Bond movies of yesteryear is, I don't know, like I have so much respect for this film mainly because of it's just like just a huge love letter to those films.
Absolutely agree. And let's talk about those.
Wait. Time out. I just got to say something about Samuel L. Jackson in this film.
What?
And I don't, in no way, shape, or form do I disagree with what you're saying. I think you're right. This is a great tribute to those old Bond movies, both in the camp kind of aspect and in the class kind of aspect. Somehow they managed to strike that balance where they meet both. However, my opinion of Samuel L. Jackson in this film kind of boils down to the way Johnny Depp is running his career right now, where it's like, let me put on a costume and let me put on some bullshit and put on a voice, and that's my character.
See, the difference with that is that in this movie, Samuel L. Jackson actually seems to give a shit. In Mordecai and in the past two Pirates movies, Johnny Depp has
done, but what I'm saying is Johnny Depp has pulled this shit in movies where he does give a shit, like The Rum Diary. You know, like there's not this isn't unprecedented. I'm not saying Samuel L. Jackson didn't try. I just didn't see it as a fully fleshed out character. I saw it as Samuel L. Jackson doing a performance.
You're seeing as a caricature less than a character.
Samuel L. Jackson decided to be a cartoon for, you know, the month that they filmed this, and that's fine. That's entertaining in its own right, but I wouldn't call that a character. And I wouldn't.
With that said, I would argue that if you're going to be a classical Bond villain, being a caricature and being kind of playing to a very base emotional level and not going for, you know, the depth. That is classic. I mean, if you've seen any...
Well, see, that might be the great divide here, which is that I'm not familiar with Bond pretty much at all.
You should fix that immediately.
We talk about it. You know, there will be a time, maybe before the next Bond film comes out, I'll take the plunge. But again, but that's the thing. That's the thing about Kingsman as a movie, is that I'm not a guy that's into the old Bond stuff. I'm not a guy that's into the new Bond stuff. But I still enjoyed the hell out of this movie.
When you were awake.
Yeah,
I would check those old Bond films out, because this film, again, was very much a tribute to those films. You have the megalomaniac villain. He has the colorful character. He has the crazy super weapon. The secret evil base. Even the ending, and I'll talk about the ending, which isn't really a spoiler, where one of the prisoners, the Scandinavian princess, is like, if you save the world, we'll do it in the ass. And he's like, okay, I'll be right back. And the last shot of the film is... That was around the time I woke up. Yeah, the last shot of the film is her turning over, so they can bang. And Merlin is like, oh, okay then, and he stops watching. And that's happened... I mean, God, in at least 2 or 3 Bond movies, where the movie ends with Bond about to get it on with one of the girls, even to the point where, I don't know, what would you guys think about Matthew Vaughn directing a Bond film?
I'm not opposed to it. I like Matthew Vaughn. I've been a supporter of Matthew Vaughn since I discovered Kick-Ass, because I wasn't familiar with him before that.
Have you seen Stardust and Layer Cake?
Oh, no, but I would totally watch those movies if given the opportunity.
You should see them.
You need to see Michelle Pfeiffer in Stardust.
I think Matthew Vaughn could definitely do a Bond film. I actually think with a Bond film, they kind of go in waves in terms of tone. The current tone of the Bond films are starting to skew a little bit more towards the big again, because Skyfall was sort of, I think, it felt like a bridge film between the darker Daniel Craig movies and then starting to throw a little bit more camp into it.
Well, here, my thing with Skyfall is that they got Sam Mendes to direct, which is the only thing I know Sam Mendes for is American Beauty.
Well, Mendes is a huge Bond fan. Like
that's what I'm saying. It's like all I know that guy for is American Beauty.
Mendes also directed The Road to Perdition, which
is. But what I'm getting at is, from my personal perspective, going into Skyfall, all I knew was American Beauty. So for him to make such a capable, suspenseful, at times, I want to say kinky. I dare to say kinky Bond film.
Yeah, it's a little kinky, like when she shaves him.
I would say more. I would say arguably the moment that's the kinkiest is also probably the moment that creeped out a lot of people, which was the moment where basically Javier Bardem and Daniel Craig kind of get a little bit
kind of a little gay moment.
That's what I'm saying, though. Those are the kinds of things that I think Sam Mendes brought out in Bond that you're not going to get from another person. So,
and every director
I liked Silva a lot, and it's actually funny that you should mention this bridge between the serious and campy Bond, Kim, because Spectre went through a couple of rewrites because the original draft, according to MGM, did not have enough humor involving Q and Moneypenny. So this new draft of the film, the one we're going to see, is actually going to have a few more of those kind of funny interactions. Now, it won't be on the level of John Cleese in Die Another Day, God forbid, but it's going to be a little lighter when it comes to those scenes, which I think is good because it's, again, a callback to the lighthearted sexual tension with Bond and Moneypenny in those old films, and Bond and Q, and with Q being the nerd and Bond being the badass, and them having an interplay.
Now, to the Kingsman, though, I'm sorry, I had connection issues there for a minute when I was trying to.
You're fine. In fact, I think if we should probably wrap up on Kingsman. So, Jake, if you want to kind of bridge this into your final thoughts on that, you can begin.
Okay. I'm going to say right now this is Matthew Vaughn's best film since X-Men First Class, in my opinion. I feel like this doesn't need to be a sequel. I feel like it did the right thing. This was a spy spoof, had terrific, frenetic action sequences. I mean, the choreography was outstanding. That's some of the best action I've seen in a long time. I mean, that's up with John Wick. Yeah, that's up with John Wick originality.
Speaking on choreography, though, the scene where Colin Firth beats up those guys in the bar, and then spoilers, there's a callback to the same scene, pretty much shot for shot and action for action, where Eggsby beats up his mom's boyfriend.
Right.
That was such a great payoff.
I actually do want to make a criticism of the film, since I don't think anyone's brought it up yet. I actually have one serious criticism that I have with the film, in that you're talking about how this movie had to be a rated R and such, and there's one very prominent element of the film involving, I don't think I have any way of explaining this without spoiling, involving heads which explode.
So yeah, like minor spoilers if you want to skip ahead like 2 minutes. But
well, I have to get into this because my main criticism of the film is that while it definitely did push the envelope in some areas, in an attempt to, I think, dial down the violence element a little bit in the film, the exploding heads are basically their heads explode into multicolored paint instead of actually just full-on gore. And I am a fan of ballsy, just gore fest elements in movies. I think it would have been just absolute, like the scene. Okay, who remembers the scene in Hot Fuzz where the giant, the giant like piece of the church falls and smashes the guy's skull open? And
yeah,
it's it's grotesque, it's gory, but it's hilarious. And the only reason I can see for them having changed the color of the gore effects to the multicolored element was, I think, a studio decision to dial down the violence of it.
I think that
sort of like how the studios forced Quentin Tarantino to turn the fight scene in Kill Bill into a black and white scene.
Here, well, okay. I mean,
I think that the movie might have been very much in danger of getting the NC-17 if all of those heads exploded with like actual blood and gore.
And I agree with you, but
satire though on our political climate. I actually like that. I like that he took shot after shot at our social climate, our young age, our millennials, all this kind of stuff. He just took shot after shot. And that's actually what I really loved about the film, too, is that it was a spy spoof mixed in with social satire. Like when he pushed the button on the Valentine app and everybody just went crazy, I thought that was pretty well done.
I want to talk about
it was a beautifully shot scene, and I did enjoy the scene. And the scene where it happens is really gorgeous to look at. It's beautifully shot. But as a fan of visceral cinema, I think that if instead of being multicolored, if it was just straight up full-on bags of blood exploding, I think it would have been, first of all, it would have been funnier. I think it would have been more grotesque. It would have turned off some of the normals, and I appreciate that. I like it when a filmmaker is willing to go that extra step just to fuck up his audience. And I'm sure Matthew Vaughn probably even had it planned that way, but either chose or was forced to choose the middle way.
I'm refreshed.
I don't know. I disagree. I thought that the colorful explosions were a really. I thought it was fun, and I think kind of like the icing on the cake was having the explosions of the heads sound actually in time to the beat of Pomp and Circumstance.
well, I will tell you actually, the moment in the film where Mark Hamill's character goes through that element where his head blows up. I actually, because it happens off screen, you don't actually see it happen. I didn't know what the hell happened. It took like probably a good minute for them to actually explain what happened for me to realize what happened.
I disagree. I knew exactly what happened from the moment.
Well, that's the thing, because it wasn't gore. It was like this weird colored paint. I knew that something blew up, but I didn't think it was like because of the color. I thought that there was some sort of like.
Maybe it's because I was fucked up. Maybe that's like the great divide. Like I watched the movie pretty fucked up, so like.
What I'm saying is, I bet you anything that scene was shot with like with like actual blood. Mm-hmm. And then they went in and post and edited it to be multicolored.
It's hilarious to me that, I was completely trashed and I watched the movie, and I pretty much understood from the gate that that's what was going on. But you were sober, and it took you a minute to get with the program. I didn't have any problem with the color. Like, I thought it really just kind of added on to everything the movie had been doing so far. And like there's nothing really. Even the church fight scene was kind of like it was violent on a kind of cartoonish level, right. And having like 50 people's heads explode would have, I think, tipped it too far in the other direction. Having the color was a lot more. It felt a lot more aligned with the sense of fun the movie was going for.
Right.
Especially even on a visual level too. I loved how the camera panned up over the war room and the heads was kind of spiraled up in this like kaleidoscope.
I guess the divide we're at here is kind of the divide between Kick-Ass and Super. I think Super is a far better movie because it's ballsy and it doesn't give a fuck. what
if
you
you
think of the movie.
Well, before
think-
you even go any further, I do understand completely what you're saying. But my argument is that Kick-Ass and Super are both so different, and they have such different intentions that to compare the two almost defeats the fucking purpose.
I
Well,
agree with that.
I don't know about that. I think that
No, I love with like probably love more than I love both of those movies.
I was entertained by Kick-Ass. Super felt like it actually had something interesting to say.
You're right.
And
Super was not trying to be cartoonish. It was trying to bring real life to the vigilante superhero. That's what it was
Right.
trying to do. So, it brought out all the blood and the violence and all that stuff. Yeah, because that's in real life.
But even beyond that, Super has possibly one of the most effective love stories in the past 5 years, and that's being generous.
I don't know about that.
I do know about that.
We're like a crazy girl who's obsessed with a guy who's a vigilante, rapes him at one point, and then gets her face blown in half.
Whoa,
yes.
What are we talking about?
You're
No, I'm
thinking
not
of
talking
Ellen
about.
Page.
Whoa,
He's talking about
whoa.
his wife character.
I'm talking about Liv Tyler, buddy. I'm talking
about Ellen Page.
I'm not talking about Ellen Page.
Oh.
If you want to look at the movie that way, you can look at the movie that way. And that is the beautiful thing about Super, is that you can look at it from all these different perspectives and get different things out of it. However, my perspective on it is that Liv Tyler's character in the movie, I don't even remember her name, but it doesn't matter because she is the object of Frank's affection. And I do remember Rainn Wilson's character's name, Frank. I don't remember the last name. However, he cared about that girl so much, and she was a hot girl in a terrible situation where she was addicted to something. I don't think the movie's very specific about what she was addicted to, cocaine, heroin, who knows, but she was in a shitty situation, and she got with this guy who supported her and loved her, and like it's vulnerable, and like I can't in any way like that's the driving force behind that movie to me, is kind of this hopeless love to it, which is and again, going back to Ellen Page tries to have sex with him, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with it, right to the point where he vomits afterwards and sees Liv Tyler in the vomit. So like the whole thing is this hopeless devotion to Liv Tyler. And he does save her, and he does give her a better life. And there's also the tragedy of, he's still fucked in the end, basically.
Yeah, she leaves him.
But that's what makes that movie beautiful,
Well, I don't want to belabor the point any further. I think
Super.
I don't want to belabor the point any further than necessary. So I will just summarize by saying, while I definitely love Kingsman, that's my one and only real criticism of the movie I can come up with. But it doesn't harm the movie severely. It's just a preference that I think would have been more effective. It's sort of like how the movie Collateral with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. I have a completely different theory for how that movie should have ended.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing. I sometimes get hung up on that, where I will come up with something that, in my opinion, would be better, and in reality, I probably should just write my own goddamn movie.
Hey,
You should write your own goddamn movie.
we should all collaborate on a movie, and then I'll get it filmed somehow.
So, with that said, I think it's a good time to bring an end to today's Pubcast. I want to thank you all.
Really quick, though, let's discuss... I really want to just quickly outline this week's new releases.
Yeah, I got it, because first of all, I got to record trailer trashes for a lot of these. I know Hot Tub Time Machine 2 is coming out. But
Oh boy.
before we even get into this, plug number 2. This Sunday, the Academy Awards are going down, and we're going to be doing our 3rd annual live stream I mean, guys, it's been 3 years since we did
Yeah.
our first.
Oh my God!
I mean, it's great. It's
Wow!
Our Oscar stream.
Mock's ready. He's already ready. He has the mock
Oh.
Oscars down, the mock Oscar speech down. He's ready to go.
So if you want to watch us,
We'll be making posts. We will be making posts on the website. Later. Hopefully, I'm going to try to get a post up tomorrow about this.
Oh
we need
my
to
goodness.
get the announcements out. We need to get the fucking set that stream up and have it ready to go. 48 hours counting down. We got to get it all going.
Are you okay over there, Hawk? I think
I wish we had the Stone
3 years, guys. Can you believe it?
It's been 3 years.
It's been 3 years. Oh,
Crazy.
3 years.
So with that said, we will see you Sunday, and the movies this weekend that are coming out
Hot
are
Tub Time Machine 2.
McFarlane USA and The Duff.
The Duff.
And by the way,
Whitman.
for
Hey, Whitman.
some unexplicable fucking reason, The Loft is being expanded again.
Again.
For some, here's the thing: The Loft had a nationwide expansion a couple weeks ago, and made no goddamn money. According to Box Office Mojo, they're bringing it back to 100 theaters this week. What the fuck is wrong with you, Hawk?
Hawk's going crazy right now.
Roger Rabbit over here.
Okay.
Okay, is there any way we could cut this out within the final 10 minutes?
Cut and edit. And, wait, we don't pay anyone to edit these.
So let me just summarize by saying Sunday and good night, everybody.
Nobody wants to get paid to edit.
Oh, here's my night right here.
What the hell? How did you get that?
Suck on that. It's out now, yo.
That's a lie.
Wow.
Well, then my local FYE just broke an embargo.
Why haven't we stopped the broadcast? That's a question unto itself. However, they shut down all FYEs in my area.
Well, that's because FYE has like a 50% markup on every goddamn thing.
They went out of business, and nobody wants to shop there. So.
I fucking hate FYE, but I fucking hate Walmart more. So.
I don't. I'm never going to shop at FYE again in my life because.
So right here are the rails. These are the rails, and we are right about here. We are off those.
What
rails.
are the rails, Cam?
Right
What the hell are you talking about?
The rails are where we're off of right now. So.
Cutting up lines of cocaine.
We're at the end of Under Siege 2, where the two trains
hold
come
on.
together and blow up. That's pretty much where we're at right now.
You just say Under Siege 2?
Yeah, where the two trains come piling at each other and everything blows
Time
up.
out. There's
Birdman is set to release on the 7th. Is set to release on the 17th. Okay, it's out now. It's out yesterday.
I put Birdman pretty high on my. I think it was number 3 on my final.
It was number 1 on my final, and then when
it was pretty high up on mine.
Why
are we still broadcasting?
That's a very good question. No one will shut the fuck up.
Hey, let it go. Let it go. I don't hold back anymore.
All right.
When Whiplash releases on the 24th, I'm gonna buy that.
Whiplash.
I'm gonna rent it.
Whiplash. I will say this about Whiplash, which is that I think that title. There's a spoilers. There's a part where the title becomes the problem.